it took you a really long time.
Because
people
that's
need
the
to
point.
be.
See what you just said? What did you just say? Say it again. Say it for the people in the back, Bob. Say it for people in the back. It took you a really long time. Done deliberately.
Okay.
That was calculated.
Thanks. Today's show, Instant Traction Tea.
Oh my goodness, I forgot. Today's the day to give you your gift.
We got gifts?
Here, this is my gift to you. And it's especially appropriate this week. There you go. I don't know if you heard, but Babson College was ranked the #2 college in the United States.
Only #2?
Yeah, only Princeton above it. Princeton, Babson, Stanford. According to a little publication called the Wall Street Journal. Don't know if you heard of it.
Trash.
So there's our set Babson College
you want me to
mug.
put it here?
Yeah.
You want to give it to me on set?
Yeah, this way everyone can see. It's kind of stolen valor for you to use it since you're not an alum, but you can use it. You can use it while on site.
Well, I'm very honored to drink out of this.
I did leave the tags on the bottom, but it can be
a bargain.
Anyways, congratulations to Babson, #2. No big deal.
Golf club.
No big deal or nothing. Anyways.
How's that help us?
It does. It helps us. You'll see. All right. Another episode of No Followers Podcast. I'm T. This is Bob. And we are bringing you another instant traction
I am shocked that we're doing another instant traction.
I love these. I like these.
But first, I have a note from our sponsors.
This wasn't part of our show plan.
But can I just jump in?
Go ahead.
Because I got to talk to our audience.
Yeah.
Today, we got 43 DMs. I'm almost sure, T, we don't have 43 followers. So if you're going to DM me, I love them. Just follow us too.
And you said they DM'd us. Don't DM me.
I'm using the we and us as
the universal
as a group.
We. Yeah, don't.
Even though it's not you.
Yeah, don't DM me. I don't need it. Well, Bob, I've prepared another Instant Traction Myth episode, and I know you hate them.
No, I love them.
Listen, let me hit you with some numbers.
I like this.
I'm going to hit you with some numbers. All right, let me know if you're familiar with this person.
Oh, it's a person?
Based on, I'm going to start, 1974. It's a date.
I got it.
Invented a product called the Ballbarrow. Ever heard of it?
Nope. But I bet I'm going to.
You know what it is?
From that? No, I don't.
You don't want to lobby any guesses?
No,
I'll tell you. It's a wheelbarrow with spherical wheels for increased maneuverability.
That's a horrible name. No wonder it didn't take off.
Okay, so it didn't take off. All right, let me give you another number. 1978. Okay?
It was a good year. Yankees won the World Series. Just saying.
I didn't know that. The boat launcher. Okay? It was a handheld tool for launching boats using, you want to guess?
The spherical shape.
2 spherical wheels.
So it just shot it at the boat?
Yeah, it was so that you could go in, have increased maneuverability, pull your boat out of the water. It was all a handheld device. Ever heard of it?
There seems to be a theme. No.
Okay. All right.
Do you have one?
I'm going to jump back in time. No.
Did they bring it to Babson?
They didn't bring it to Babson.
Okay, just checking.
This wouldn't pass muster at Babson, the #2 college in the United States, according to the Wall Street Journal. All right. Other things that this person did in the 1970s. He was the co-inventor of a little thing called the Sea Truck. Ever heard of it?
Yes.
Okay. It was a flat-hulled, high-speed boat that could land without a jetty or harbor. He was a co-inventor of this while studying at the Royal College of Art. The Royal College of Art. I just realized I could do this whole thing in an English accent.
Thank God you didn't realize that too soon. But okay.
But I realize it now then, isn't it? All right. So he had some products invented, isn't it? All right.
I feel like I know this person.
Do you?
Yeah.
You want to lobby a guess?
No, I'm going to let you go a little deeper.
Then he kind of moved on.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you another number. Started filing some patents on this invention in 1980. Okay. Worked on it a little bit, blah, blah, blah. didn't really find some commercial success until...
Did your research say blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, said blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Why don't you give me some guesstimates of years from patents beginning in 1980, when he finally kind of got it to market?
88.
I mean, you're in the ballpark, plus or minus. 1984, really, is when we're looking at. Maybe late 83, 84. Okay?
Don't you have a specific date?
Yeah, it kind of found licensing at 2 different times, but it still didn't really find success yet.
All right,
okay?
so we're 83, 84.
Yeah, so patented beginning in 1980. And the point of this long, drawn-out opening is to show the amount of time it sometimes takes to develop a winning product.
Okay. Which you're beating to death is the theme.
But now, let me paint a picture for you of the problem that our friend here has solved, okay? Or attempted to solve. You want to guess a time frame?
I'm taking notes.
You want to guess a time frame?
80,
Don't guess.
86 to 90.
You're so wrong, you couldn't be more wrong. The 1970s.
What? You went backwards again.
That's right. Before
I need chronological.
That's right. No, here's why it matters. Because while he was inventing other things, he still had the inspiration for this first
The
thing.
spherical barrel.
Yep. 1970s. Noticed vacuum cleaners losing suction due to a layer of dust clogging the fine mesh of the bag, Bob.
It's my boy.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I'm a big fan for funding purposes. Okay.
You want to say the name of our buddy?
No, I'm going to let you do, because
Okay.
didn't you bash our buddy in a
No,
previous episode?
I have some issues with his current product, but it's still a great story.
So he's been making patents and ball
Ballbarrows.
barrows.
And here's why that matters. Here's why I led in with that. Okay.
I like it.
So let me give you a little. So he noticed this problem with vacuum cleaners. All right. While creating the Ballbarrow, which was a company that he founded, which he didn't own completely, but it was a company selling product, one of the systems they used was a powder coating system in the manufacturing process. He found that the current system of trying to contain the actual powder coat was very inefficient. So he went to equipment manufacturers and told him and asked them, I need an alternative that's more efficient for filtering out this powder coat. And they said, well, there is a better system using like a giant cyclone technology, but it's more expensive. So he said, okay, no problem. So this is known as a centrifugal separator. And it's used to collect dirt, dust, debris in industrial settings. And he was using an industrial setting to make the Ballbarrow. So he found it was never applied on a small scale because of the cost of creating the giant cyclone. So what did he do? I'll tell you, don't guess. He built a 30-foot model for use in the Ballbarrow factory to use in their powder coating epoxy process. During the process, he realized how effective it was for removing dust without clogging the fine mesh. And so he built a cardboard model with sticky tape, connected it to his Hoover, removed the bag, and found that it worked. But this hits on a lot of things we talk about, right?
Like what?
You realize
MVP, prototype, proof of concept.
you may be working on one thing, but you recognize an opportunity. You listen to the market, you find the problem, and you start small with a proof of concept that doesn't have to be a multi-million-dollar operation. You're just trying to prove that it works.
It also shows that we are all, as creators, scientists, detectives, we're always looking for how things work. And my man, which I'm not going to name.
I mean, if you know the name, I might as well say.
We all know the name already.
So we're talking about Dyson.
What's his first name?
James. Sir James Dyson. Okay?
I like to
let me get into more of the history, okay?
We got more history?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because you're probably wondering, like, okay, great. So he came up with the proof of concept, and then it was just counting money, right? Wrong.
No, I never think that.
Fool. That's not at all what happened. So he went to the board at Ballbarrow, and he said, I found a great use for this technology. We can make vacuums.
And they said goodbye.
And they said, if it was possible, Hoover or Electrolux would have already done it, which any inventor knows is a very common thing people will say to you. If it was such a good idea, someone would have done it already. But he was undeterred, and he decided to just keep going anyways. And so eventually they, as you said, kicked him out of his company. So he was no longer part of the Ballbarrow company. He did, however, have a friend in investor/businessman Jeremy Fry, who provided 49% of the investment needed for him to launch into development of the Dyson vacuum. The remaining funds came from a loan. Yep.
This is a bedtime story. I'm tired.
No, so this is important too because it talks about network, right? He
knew one guy with money.
He knew one guy with money that he was able to sell on the idea. He was told no by the people that he was working with. He persisted anyway. And so he had some money, he had a loan, he had he had a good amount of support from his wife who was able to support them while he went on this endeavor. And so he had some funding. So you know what he did, Bob? He built a giant building and got all the equipment he needed to make it. Bob, that's not what happened at all.
I don't think that's what happened.
Bob, you fool. That's not what happened.
I would tell him, I would say, Jimmy, you're a fool.
In a shed behind his house.
There you go. Just like the Wright brothers.
Yep. Oh, love the Wright brothers.
Why didn't you bring up the Wright brothers?
Because we're talking about Dyson. That'll be a different one.
Okay.
I have a special emotional place for the Wright brothers.
Me too, by the way.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
In a shed behind his house, he developed 5,127 prototypes. Okay. So some more numbers for you. What time frame do you think he did that in?
He did that in like a month.
More, less, 10 days. No, Bob, you fool. That's between 1979 and 1984. And the reason I bring this up is because it is very common for inventors and founders to feel frustrated with what feels like a lack of progress or what feels like design that isn't going the direction they wanted it to go.
Or frustration like this episode.
Or frustration like the episode, right? 5,127 prototypes. That's
pretty impressive.
Over 5 years. But then when it was done, Bob, you know what? You know what happened?
He didn't have a
He didn't have, He struggled. He still struggled to find a licensee. The only company that expressed interest was a former employer of Dyson. So once again, note your network and how your network comes into play.
This sounds very familiar to what we talked about.
Yeah. And that
he
company
needs to come on this podcast.
Yeah. That company was called Rotork. And so they created, it was built in Italy. It was available by mail order only. It was called the Cleanese Rotork Cyclone. And it was the first publicly sold vacuum of Dyson's design. Guess how many units sold in 1983? Guess.
7.
Not even close, Bob.
0.
That's even further away.
I'm
going to save you the embarrassment. It was 500. Okay. 500 units sold in 1983 after 5 years and 5,000 iterations. 1984 sent information to Amway as part of what was going to be a licensing deal. And that licensing deal, Bob.
I have people that know how to license.
Yeah.
Just saying.
You know what happened with that licensing deal?
It fell apart.
It fell apart. That's right.
I'm like psychic at this point.
And then you know what happened? Amway, 1985, produced its own very similar cyclone bagless vacuum called the CMS 1000. So that was a hit. We got a lot of hits for Jimmy D, right? That same year, a Japanese company called Apex Technology expressed interest.
Taking notes.
Expressed interest and sold it in Japan. And that was the first place that it actually found some commercial success. And part of the reason was that it was held as a status symbol. It sold for $2,000 US. So it was a very expensive vacuum for the mid 80s. And having
for 2024.
For 2024, yeah. And so it was held as a status symbol, right? So a lot of things come into play here. We talk about
there might be too much.
Might be too much. You talk about the target market, where your product market fit, all that kind of stuff. These are all things that this product hits on, which is why I really like this story.
The story's not over?
No, there's more, Bob. We'll expedite it.
How many hours are we on this episode?
1991 won the International Design Fair Prize in Japan, became a status symbol there, as I said. Their slogan, you know what it was, Mr. Know-It-All, Mr. Fancy Pants? What was Dyson's slogan?
It's taking me an effing long time to get there.
No, Bob, that ain't even close. It was say goodbye to the bag. And the reason I bring it up is because it has a clear understanding of their unique value proposition and how to communicate it to customers. It hit on their problem, it hit on their solution, and it hit on their differentiator.
And their pain.
Yep.
And the mess it makes.
So in any event, the kind of moral of the story is a lot of iterations, other products, listened to the market, found the one that eventually made them successful. So fast forward in the 1990s, Dyson Dual Cyclone.
Stuck in the 90s.
Yeah, we're still in the 90s. Dyson Dual Cyclone became the fastest selling vacuum cleaner ever made in the UK. Early 2005, they became the market leaders in the US by value, not number of units sold. 86 to 2001, they licensed to a company called Phantom Technologies in the US, after which they entered the market directly. The point of all this is to say they went through many different iterations, not only of product, but of selling channel, of branding, of how to reach their market, of different markets that they went into. It wasn't just, I have an idea, I got an investor, and now I'm retired, right? So
Yeah, that doesn't work usually.
no. So started patenting in the 1980s, finally found some sales in mid 80s, finally found mild success in the 90s.
Look at him now. He's a knight.
And had other products that nobody knows him for. Have you seen any Ballbarrows on your street when they're doing landscaping?
I'm going to buy one. I would like to use one now.
So when major companies rejected his project, he opened Dyson Limited to produce his own product. He said, they are not interested in licensing it. I'll do it myself. 2000 onward, because we always talk about alpha product, what product is going to be the first one to get you to market. So from 2000 onward, Dyson began to expand because they had launched their alpha or their first mover product, which was the Dual Cyclone Vacuum. So you may know them for their other product lines, including washing machines, hand dryers released in 2006, fans released in 2009, hair dryers released in 2016. Currently, no big deal, 14,000 employees, headquartered in Singapore. March 2024, Forbes net worth for my man Jimmy D was $13.4 billion. And I just
that's a product diversification play for him.
Yeah. But
I want to compare it to what we do.
Well, hang on, let me say one thing because
Okay.
you talked about diversification.
I did.
But they're still true to their value, which is making digital electric motors, which is one of the things that they found for themselves, which they said, okay, if we can make it for a vacuum, how do we take what we know about how to make digital electric motors and make it for these other things?
What is our strength?
Yep.
What is our UVP?
Yep.
And can we adopt it into other products?
What is our first mover product? How do we go from there? It is literally everything that we talk about, despite your extremely negative attitude this whole episode.
It took you a really long time.
Because
people
that's
need
the
to
point.
be.
See what you just said? What did you just say? Say it again.
I don't
Say
know.
it for the
I don't
people
know
in the
what I
back,
said.
Bob. Say it for the people in the back.
They listen.
It took you a really long time. Done deliberately.
Okay.
That was calculated.
Thanks.
To demonstrate. Sometimes it may take you a really long time.
Method to
There's
your
a method.
madness.
There's always a method.
So I was
my
going to try to
madness.
compare it because this week we've had a lot of applicant calls.
Yeah.
And we have a 3-phase process to our incubator future commercialization studio. And people want to go 1 to 2 to 3. And we're saying that's not guaranteed because we don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
I love your Dyson example. One is because I'm a fan of the way he capitalizes his company. And I've said that and you bashed me for it.
No.
You bashed his product for it.
But
He's got billions in the bank, so bash him all you want.
I have had
And now you
issues
bring
with
it
his
up.
product.
Okay.
Just personally.
That's fine.
But it's not the product, it's the battery. Their battery sucks. I'm sorry. It does. It dies quickly, runs out of charge.
Maybe you just got a bad one.
It's possible, but isn't that part of your product quality control?
Couldn't you bring it back and get a new one and test it out?
No.
No? Okay.
It was a wedding gift, Bob.
Oh,
Okay. Thanks.
you're welcome.
Thanks.
I gave you an old battery. I needed the new.
So I do have a quote that he is somewhat famous for.
Not over yet.
So he said, I made 5,127 prototypes of my vacuum before I got it right. There were 5,126 failures, but I learned from each one. That's how I came up with the solution. So I don't mind failure. If you are going to be a product inventor, you need to both have the emotional intelligence to understand when you should walk away, but you also need to have the ability to withstand failure.
But I think we should discuss on a future episode how to keep that going, because it's very hard if you're a solo, keep doing this and keep failing, to keep going. And one of the things we stress all the time is the power of the team, right?
I mean, even your personal network, right? How many times does your wife or your friends or whoever pick you up off the floor and say, just get through today, figure tomorrow out tomorrow? Like it, and it is when your product is your baby. And listen, I've launched a few different products, but there is one product that is my baby. And
the math's on the wall.
Yeah. And there are a lot of people that would say I should have released it by now. And I know the point where I am comfortable releasing it, and I will not release it before then. I hope I don't have to go through 5,000 iterations. I've gone through tens of iterations. Each one gets better.
It's also a different product, so you couldn't go through.
There are safety concerns, as with other things. There are other products that are treated like software that are hardware, that people don't care about safety, but we won't get into that. But
there's do that as an
I would love to.
Traction
I don't want to say their name, give them credit for anything. But I love this story because it goes.
Now you love the Dyson story. When I brought it up 5 episodes ago, like that.
I love the Dyson story. I don't necessarily love their products, but I love the way that he had other products. He could have just said, I'm sticking to my board said, we're not doing vacuums, and the Ballbarrow is where we're going to be. And he wouldn't be most likely a billionaire. And he wouldn't have contributed to all the charities he has, and he wouldn't be held in such high regard at the Royal College of Art, and yada, yada, yada.
No, I wouldn't call him Jimmy.
You wouldn't call him Jimmy D.
Since you did all the talking, I just sat here trying to stay awake.
I told you a story.
Thank you. I appreciate the bedtime story. You can wrap it up.
No, Bob, you go ahead.
No,
let's go.
This is
let's
your
go.
moment
Bring it
of
home.
glory. You bring it home.
Go.
Just go.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to my bedtime story. The point of this was to say, if you are an inventor and if you are working an idea, just keep going until you shouldn't.
Keep going, but get honest.
Yeah.
Put people around you that tell you the honest truth.
Yeah.
And that's not always it's good or bad. It's the honest truth is, did you think of this? Did you look here? Well, that's what we try to stress. And we joke a lot, and there's a whole episode about how we interact because people have asked, because I read the DMs. But I think it's important that, listen, if it's a passion of yours, you shouldn't give up. Life's too short anyway, right? That's my motivational speech for the night. But you need to surround yourself with people that are going to tell you the honest truth. Because at some point, sometimes we have to stop.
Yeah. Well, it's like, and this is one of my rants, but it's not just grit. It's not that
you can't use the word grit. You made fun of me on social media. 100%. I've never used the word grit in my life.
It's on film.
I said I don't like the word grit. It's stupid. But then you say Bob always talks about grit on social media, and then I have people going, "Oh, what's grit mean to you, Bob?" It doesn't mean anything to me.
I have you saved in my phone as Gritty Bob. But the point is that it's not just that James Dyson had grit. He didn't. He had resolve, but he had strategy. He had emotional intelligence. He had network. He had all of these different things that we talk about all the time that got him to incremental progress. And I think that's what you should be fighting for. Is incremental progress.
This down.
All right? And that's my free
All right, now you have to wrap it up and say support our sponsors. Come see us at the live events we're doing. We have so much stuff going on.
We got live events coming up, and follow us on YouTube and LinkedIn deep. And everything, and all Twitter. The stuff is on there.
It's not Twitter, sorry. X.
In any event, thanks for listening. And shoot Bob your DMs, and we'll see you next time.